starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everybody. We'll be starting the webinar in about 5 minutes. We still have people coming on, so about 5 more minutes. Thank you. Hi, everybody. We'll be starting the webinar in a couple minutes. Still waiting for everybody to get on. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today on our debut of our preview of our inventory management system that'll be coming out on June 24th. I'm going to go through the demonstration and everything. At the end of the demonstration, we will be taking questions and answering those. So if you could just save your questions till the end, that would be great. And then Amy and myself will be fielding those. That being said, I'll get into it, the demonstration of our upcoming new inventory management system. So you'll have a new tab over off to the left called Inventory, and then underneath that you'll have Warehouses. In our new inventory system, you can add as many different warehouses as you'd like. For instance, you could have a main warehouse. Each one of your vehicles can be a warehouse. You can create a virtual warehouse that might be rack assembly, whatever you wish to do. And there is no limitation. You can have as many as you'd want. When you click and go into a warehouse, you'll go in here, and the first thing you're going to do is go to the cog and go to the settings, warehouse settings. In here, this is where you're going to, title your warehouse. You're going to put in all your information for that warehouse. You're going to select what type of warehouse is it. Is it a physical warehouse or a virtual warehouse? You're going to select if it can receive or not receive product. And what we mean by receive product is our PO is going to be issued from this warehouse, because obviously in vans and so forth, you're not going to be wanting to receive product from the manufacturers and so forth. We'll be doing inner warehouse transfers for those. Over here, you can see all the employees that have permissions for this warehouse. And to add a user, you can simply hit add user. And then when you populate that, it'll bring up what they do and don't have permissions for in this particular warehouse. So you can definitely give them limited permissions if you wish to do so. You can also create a bin prefix. What this is your bin or shelves or whatever, however you want to label them. If you have a certain kind of prefix you want everyone to start with when you're adding and creating the bins for the warehouse, you can put that here. So for instance, if I go to the cog here and go to create new bin, it's going to start with that prefix. In my case, it's shelf number, and then I can just put in 11. And when I save it, it'll go back to that, and I can go 12. Just to save you time when you're creating all your different shelves and everything. And you can see all the different bins that you've created for this warehouse right here. You can also delete them if you need to with the trash can. Going back into the warehouse dashboard, from the warehouse dashboard, you can see how many products are in that warehouse, and this is clickable to go into. You can also set up your products to have a minimum and a maximum you want on hand, and also when you want to get a warning to reorder. And those ones that are in the warning will show up here, and again, you can click to see what ones need to be reordered, what ones are in low stock. You can see the cost value of that warehouse and the retail value of that warehouse. You can see the last time you did a cycle count for the warehouse. You can also see any pending ingoing or outgoing transfers right here. And transfers are how you actually move product in between warehouses, and we'll cover that in a little bit. You can see the open purchase orders, and then you can filter the purchase orders by draft, what's been sent to the supplier, what's been partially shipped, what's been shipped, and what's been received. Also, if you start receiving product into a warehouse but don't finish that, you can actually see them right here so they don't fall through the cracks. We also have a log list here, so you can see any transaction that's ever been done in this warehouse, and then we have links right here to go into the details of that transaction and what it's linked to. And there's a search feature right here for that also. When you want to receive a product into a warehouse from a manufacturer, you'll simply go over to the cog and you'll go to receive product. You'll select the purchase order you want to receive from. And then inside the purchase order here, you'll hit scan products. And what you'll do is take your scanner and scan the UPC code of the product. It'll then automatically take you to the product information. If it's a serial number product like this one is, and it's going to require a serial number, you're going to scan the serial number, and then you can accept it, and it'll show up right down here on the bottom. And you can continue scanning things When you're done, you'll X out of here, and then you can go and receive the shipment. So you can click on receive and receive it, and now that shipment has been received. And up here on the PO, you can see what was ordered, what's been received, and what's still outstanding for this purchase order. Also, when you want to do, going back to the dashboard here, when you go into the warehouse, you can do transfers and transfer product in between warehouses. So to create a transfer, you simply hit create transfer, and that'll initiate the a transfer that you can start selecting your product that you want to transfer. So you can go in here, it'll show all the product that's in that warehouse, and you can select whatever you want, and then you'll go up to the cog here, and you'll go to transfer product. You'll create a transfer number. You can auto-generate it. You can choose the warehouse of the destination, so maybe in this case it's Van 1. You can choose any work order. If you want, if there's a work order already created for this and you want to associate a work order to it, you can do so, but you don't have to, and you can hit OK. It creates that transfer, which is an auto number, and you can click on this to change it to whatever you wish to do so, edit it if you wish to do so. It has the product right here, and the quantities default to 1. If you do need to edit those, just click on the quantity and change it to the quantity that you need it to be. If everything looks good, you'll go up to the cog and you'll go to finalize transfer, and basically that will stop you from being able to edit that transfer or anything like that. And you can then go, the person in the other warehouse, so if we go to that Van 1, and on the dashboard in Van 1, we can see 2 pending incoming transfers because I had one up left over from before. So I can click on that, and I can see transfer 2, which is from before, and transfer 3 that I just created. I can click on either one of those. That person can see what's coming in. If everything looks good, they can just simply go to the cog and accept the transfer. If things are wrong here, like maybe it's a wrong quantity or something like that, they can reject the transfer, and it'll send it back to that main warehouse and alert them, and they can put notes when they reject the transfer. There's a note section that you can add notes, and it'll let them know what they need to change on quantity. But in this case, I'm just going to accept it. And now that actually brought that product into that warehouse. So for instance, on this van, whoever your installer is and that's in charge of that van just acknowledged that I'm accepting this product and it's been transferred into my van. So when you go, so that's all the transfers done on that. So it's pretty straightforward on that. For product and everything, so when we go to a project now, we have more information inside the project. So if we go to a project that we're working on, we can see any PO statuses, so any statuses of any purchase orders related to this project. We can also, we also have a new purchase order box here where we can see all the purchase orders that are related to, or that have product related to this project. And we can filter them by draft, what's been sent, what's been partially received, what's been shipped, and what's been received completely. Also, if you go to the cog here now, you can go to installed products. So if you click on this, it'll list all the products that have ever been installed for this particular project. So you always can reference that, and it shows the work order that was brought in from, the quantity, the product. If this was a serial number tracked product, it would list the serial number here, who installed it, and when. And if you do ever need to bring this back into the warehouse, you can do so from by hitting that little arrow right there and create a transfer back into the warehouse. Also, for your project managers now, when they go to project products, which are all the different proposals related to this project, they can click on the proposal now, and it'll pull up the proposal, and they have an option for the proposal that they can select what they want to order for this proposal. So what needs to be ordered or requested. So they can select the products and highlight the products that they need ordered. And when they're done with that, they'll go to the cog here and go to add to product request. And now that the product status changed of those to requested. And if we go to our product request page now, which is under the inventory tab, your buyer and your warehouse manager can see all the product that needs to be ordered by project. And we have a link right here to the project on that. And they can see from here what's on hand, what's been requested, what's been queued, because we do have a purchase order queue, what's been ordered, and what's been allocated, and then what's needed. So if they do have some stuff on hand, like for instance, this HR 150, maybe you have left over from another job, or maybe you stock things, you can click on this and you can allocate. So you'll see all the HR 150s that are needed for this project and the locations they're needed in. You can select to allocate that. So we had one on hand, so we can grab it. It's showing the serial number and everything, and we can allocate that. And now that product's been allocated to this project, and we can see that here, that allocated number changed to 1 and the needed changed to 2. So now that's been allocated. If you do need to unallocate it and take it for another project, you can simply do so, the same thing, just click on it and go to the allocation and deallocate it. And you can remove that, and it deallocates that now from this particular project, and you can reallocate that to a different project that you might need it for. You can also then from here select and product, certain product you can click on again from any project, it doesn't matter. And you can go to the cog here and you can create a purchase order right from here if you wish to do so. You can add it to an existing purchase order. You can delete these requests. So maybe they change the project changed a little bit and it's not needed right away. You can unrequest it, and that'll change that status back in that project to unrequested. Or you can actually fulfill the transfer if you have everything allocated and stuff, and that creates a transfer basically to whatever van and work order you wish to do so. Or you can add it to the PO queue, which is a new feature also with us. What the PO queue does, so if you go under purchase orders, we have a purchase order queue here that you can send product from any project or just do one-offs or whatever you want, all to the purchase order queue for your buyer. So your buyer can just live in the purchase order queue and see what needs to be ordered, and they can filter that by product, by phase, by location, by system, or no grouping at all, and they can select again just by, clicking on whatever they need to create the purchase order for, and they can go to here and they can create a purchase order for that. When they do go to create a purchase order, they can, again, give it a purchase order auto-generated title or type it in. You can select the client or your company, whatever you wish that it's needed for. Select the supplier that you want it for. You can then select the address. What warehouse do you want it, the company address or one of the warehouse addresses. I'm going to say the main warehouse, and it'll auto-populate that, and hit OK. And it brings everything over to that PO. If you do want to add more product to a purchase order, you can do so by hitting add product and add more product that you want to. You can also remove the product at this point. And also, this is where you're going to update the statuses as they come in, when it's been shipped, if it's been back ordered, if it's partially shipped, if it's discontinued, or when it's received. And that'll update that PO status inside the project, so you know where that is also. When you're in all your existing purchase orders, and if you want to see and go into a purchase order, you can also see the shipment history. So if you go into the purchase order and hit the cog, you can hit that and it'll see all the shipment history. So when you received things and what you received and when. So you have that information for you. Now, when we did transfers, like I mentioned, we also did a transfer to a warehouse, but also you could associate work orders with it. So now we have new work orders that you can associate to it. So by open a work order, we have a new feature here under the line items that you can hit the plus symbol. And then we have all the same options that we did before, where we can bring stuff in from a proposal, the product manager, the checklist, or type things in. But we also have now inventory transfer. When you select that, it'll show all the transfers that are related to this work order. In this case, it's that transfer 3 that we created. And so I want to bring that over, so I can hit transfer 3 and hit OK. And it brings those items into the work order. And if I want to bring other things in, I can also bring in some new features we have too. You can bring things in from specific warehouses. So if the guys use something off their vans, they can remove things from their vans, so it tracks inventory on that. So if I did want to grab something from a specific warehouse, it's only going to show me product that's in that warehouse, and I can select it and hit, it has the quantity. I can adjust the quantity and everything, and I can just hit add to work order. And then when you're done, you can close out of that. But now anything that's been brought in from inventory or from a transfer, which is an inventory product, which you can tell right here, when the guys go to check things off that they've installed it, they check it off, but now we added an extra step. And this is confirming that they've really installed this product, because when they check OK on this, it's going to basically deliver it from their van to the client. So when they hit OK, and now that product's been delivered to that client. Anything that's not used, they don't check off, and they can just do an inventory transfer again, because it's still technically on that van, from the van back into the main warehouse for that. Another way they can remove products from their vans, or you can remove it from inventory, are through through invoices, I'm sorry. So if you go into an invoice, you can actually, we added a bunch of features there too. So if you hit the plus symbol, you can now select a warehouse you want to bring something in from. So maybe it was van 1. And again, only the products that are available on that will show. You can, adjust the quantity or whatever, and you can add that to the invoice. In this case, I added add labor too. But you don't have to have it add labor if you don't want to. So you can add things from there, and then once this invoice is closed, it's removed from inventory also. So that's another way to deliver things from inventory. Also, under the inventory tab, you can go to on-hand products, where you can see a list of, you can filter by all warehouses or individual warehouses and see your overall inventory cost and inventory retail value and all the products. And it also tells you, what you have on hand, anything that's been committed, and then you can see what warehouse, where they are, what warehouses they're in. So you can see all that information there too. Then we have the overall installed products. This is everything. Remember I showed you that we had installed products by project, but if there is no project or work order, we can still see the client information and what was installed there. And you can narrow the search down by project by just typing in the search feature here. And then we also have an aging report that you can see product, and you can put in a specific date of when it's been, how long it's been aging for. So if you want to make sure you cycle through some of your aged product, you can do so. And that pretty much covers everything on the new inventory management system. I'm going to turn it over to Amy, and she's going to answer any of your questions you guys may have.
Not seeing any questions coming in yet. Give it a few more moments.
Okay. Any questions out there? Looks like Andrew might have his hand raised.
Okay, so first questions, are we compatible with any UPC scanner via USB right now?
We have a lot. We'll list the ones that we've actually tested. So we have a few different ones that we've tested on that. We have a really nice, one of the ones that we did and that I was using in the demo today is a really nice compact Bluetooth one that's compatible with Bluetooth devices. So we'll make a list for that for you guys also.
How does the inventory integrate with QuickBooks?
So what the integration with QuickBooks is going to be is we'll add purchase orders that can be pushed over, because obviously you do not want to track inventory out of two different systems. So you have to make a choice of either going to use our system for inventory tracking or QuickBooks. If you're using our system, the purchase orders will push over to QuickBooks and it'll show up in the PO section. Once you receive your invoice, you can create the bill and pay the bill against that purchase order, just like normal.
Kind of elaborate on the other question you asked about scanners. They're asking, do you recommend scanners at each van and warehouse?
Yes, I do. I mean, to make your guys' life easier, because the other cool thing you can scan on the vans, if they're creating an invoice or something for like a service invoice and they're adding product, the nice thing when you go into an invoice, let's go into one here, and we're adding product. And I'll just go to the main warehouse again. I can go put in the tab here, because if that list is long and there's a lot of different product and they don't know that, they can just actually scan the UPC and it pulls up the product like that. So that's associated with it. So yes, I do recommend having scanners. The scanners we tested too, just so you know, are under $50. So they're not expensive scanners by any means, but they work really, really well.
How do we get original inventory into the system?
So what we did is we created, and I'm going to do a separate whole webinar on this, but I'll give you a sneak preview. So when you create a new warehouse, and I have one that's not touched, which is van 2, you'll get a new message up here on top that if you want to use our warehouse settings, you can go in here and go in and start the import process. What you do is you'll click on that. It'll pull up your product manager, and you can select as much product as you want to start with. You know, different product or whatever. And then you can, as you select the product, you can add that to step 2 and go to step 2, and it'll ask you to fill in the UPC code, select the bins, and then after step 2, it's going to ask you to confirm everything that you want to bring in, and then you can go to step 4 and finalize that. So, but it is a one-time setup. It is a process, so I'll go through that in another webinar for that, because I wasn't planning on covering this today. But we did implement a nice, easy process for you to populate all of your warehouses pretty easily.
Can we do cycle counts? Will it add items to inventory?
Yes, there is cycle counts. So when you go into a warehouse, you can create a cycle count underneath here. You can go to your cycle counts. So you can see any pending cycle counts, like maybe if you started one. If you didn't, you can go and begin a new cycle count. It'll ask you to do a blind count on that cycle count. So it'll, when you go begin cycle count, it's going to pull up all your product that's in that warehouse, and it's going to, you can put notes there, but it's going to ask you to do a blind count. So on this, how many do you have? You know, and you can, you know, put in the people who are doing the cycle count will enter what they're counting. And as they go through and do this, when they're done, they can go to reconcile. It'll reconcile the cycle count, and it'll show you what you actually have on hand and what's committed and stuff, and give you your variances and all that kind of stuff. So you can do as many cycle counts as you wish to do so. And then, oops, I meant to go into that warehouse. It'll show you on the dashboard in the warehouse the last time you did a full cycle count. And that one I didn't finish all the way, so it's not listed here. But it'll show you the last time you did a full cycle count, and if you did any net adjustments in that cycle count.
So on that same question that you're just on for cycle counts, they want to know, can they just do the cycle count with my scanner? They're not going to want to have to find the part by having to scroll.
With the cycle count, it's going to list all the product with it. You can scan, yeah, you can scan the product, and it'll show the product that's in that list, and then you can put in the count. So you can use it. You can use the UPC code to find the product. Yes, but you'll have to manually enter the count. The scanner obviously doesn't know the count.
Are we recommending scanning from laptops on a van? Are we not able to use their phone or tablet?
No, if you get a Bluetooth scanner, like I'm working on a tablet right now, and I'm working on I'm using a Bluetooth scanner, which is a small little handheld one. Like I said, we'll release. They can they can sync that Bluetooth up to their phone, to their tablet, whatever you want, and use it and use their phone or tablet on the van. So they don't need a laptop.
What are our recommendations for devices to be used on the vans?
Like I said, we'll list all those. The one I'm using right now is EO, and I can give you them. I can put out the model number and stuff. It's ones that we've bought on Amazon that are inexpensive. We're trying to keep them down in cost for you guys, the ones we're testing. But like I said, we'll send out a list.
Is it going to be mandatory to put in a UPC code and or serial number?
If when you set up a product, so it depends how you set up the product. So when you go into your product manager and you're entering your product, let's get into a product here. So when you go into a product, there's a new inventory tab down here. This is where you put in your UPC code, which I would highly recommend putting a UPC code in there. Most manufacturers have them. If they don't, we do have a printer version where you can generate your own UPC code and print the label and put your own label on that. And then you're going to select what type it is. Let me go into a product that's not already selected here so I can show you. Because once you select the type, you can't go back. So there's different types of products. We have non-inventory products, bulk products, and neither one of those needs serial numbers. But if you go to make a product a serial number tracked product or a lot number tracked product, then yes, you need a serial number or a lot number.
They wanted to see the process for removing product off of the van to the customer location specifically.
That's where that's what I showed you in the work order. So remember how we did that transfer from the main warehouse to the van in that work order? In that work order, when the guys are in the work order working, and we have the items here from that transfer, when they check that they installed this, another warning's coming up that, hey, this is now delivering this to your client. Are you sure you installed it? And they're saying yes. So they had to do 2 checks to do that. And now that has been removed from the van inventory and delivered to the client. Or you can create an invoice and select the product from a warehouse, and that delivers it to the client also.
Does the actual product item show up in QuickBooks on the purchase order, or what is generated?
So purchase order gets pushed over just like it is. So yeah, the product items, when you go into a purchase order, let's go into the purchase orders here. So what goes over to QuickBooks is just like here. So the items and the quantities that were ordered, and then obviously your cost total that were in there. I didn't have any costs associated with these particular items, but that would be pushed over to QuickBooks, and then you just, when your bill comes in, you associate it to, or your invoice comes in, you create a bill associated to that purchase order just like you normally do, and pay your bill. You're just not tracking product inside of QuickBooks anymore, because all the product tracking is done in our software. You're basically just using QuickBooks for your accounting side of it to pay your bills.
Are POs going to automatically go up to QuickBooks, or is that a manual process?
You're going to do it just like you do the syncing now. So when you go to the integrations, and now we have all these right here, what will be added here will be purchase orders. You'll select it, and you'll sync it, and then it'll sync all the purchase orders from the last time you sunk.
What is a lot number?
A lot number is some ways people or manufacturers track big products. It's like when it was manufactured, like they might have a lot number ranging from May 29th through June 15th that product was made in that lot. That's how, we don't really have that a lot in our industry. We just added it to be safe. That's more in the food and beverage industry. When you hear recalls for like meat, they'll recall a lot, you know, of when that was done. So that's kind of what a lot is.
Will there be a sync all option for QuickBooks?
What do you mean sync all? I'm not sure what they're...
I'm assuming they're asking probably on the purchase orders.
Well, like I said, the purchase orders, when they select it, it'll sync all the purchase orders from the last time they sunk. So it does sync them all. If you're saying a sync all to sync all the different sections, no, we'll never do that.
That's all the questions right now. Maybe give it another little bit here to see if any other ones come in. Okay, and when you're using inventory, you're saying the inventory asset dollar amounts won't go in QuickBooks?
No, we're not pushing that over. We're just pushing POs over. You can print out, you can see your inventory assets in our system, and that might be something you manually have to enter into QuickBooks, but we have that number all for you, so you can see on-hand products, and you can see it across all your warehouses, so you have your overall cost value right here, or you can do it by warehouse.
Kind of the same question that was asked multiple times. I'm not sure if they didn't see it, but when you showed, they're asking again if that product item shows up in QuickBooks on the PO, which you said it does, broken out by products. Maybe show that again.
It shows it line item just like it does when you're creating a purchase order in QuickBooks. But again, I'm going to stress strongly, you're not going to want, you don't want to track inventory in two different systems. That does not work.
Is there going to be a charge for the inventory component? If so, what is the price on it?
So yes, there is a charge. It's one license. Either you're going to do it or you don't. And once we release on June 24th, it's going to be $189 a month, but we are taking pre-orders up till then. And those are, it reduces the price down to $139 a month.
Does the product manager and inventory have the ability to detail packaging? The example to be purchased in quantity of 6 but sold in each?
Oh, yes. So when you go into, I'm glad you brought that up too. I forgot to cover that. So yes, when you go into the product manager, into a product, and let me just go into one here. Let's say wire is what it's going to come into the most common thing. And actually, let me just see if I have a wire SKU in here. If I do have any wire in here. I don't think I do. But when you go into a product here, on the main page under general details, there's order by case. When you check this box, you can put in the case quantity and the cost per case. So like, let's say that, let's pretend this item was wire. We buy wire in 1,000-foot boxes if it's category cable. So, but we want to sell it by the foot. So we set up our pricing for the product in here by the foot, so this pricing will be by the foot. But when we order it by the case. So that's when you set this up. And when you check this box and everything, and you go to create a purchase order for it, so let's say we needed 1,800 feet of category 6 cable in blue. It's going to know that it's order by case. It's going to know the case quantity is 1,000. We need 1,800, so it's going to know we need 2 cases. And on the PO, it's going to convert everything back to 2 cases. So the manufacturer knows, understands that we need 2 cases, even though it's 2,000 feet. But then when we receive it, we're receiving 2,000 feet in, and we can allocate 1,800 feet to that particular project. So yes.
I'm not seeing any additional questions at this time.
Well, I want to thank everybody for taking their time out of their busy schedules. We will be doing at least one more of these before we launch on June 24th. But any questions, feel free to send it in to support@ProjX360.com. Or if you do want to pre-order inventory, if you haven't already, you can send that into support@ProjX360 also, and we can get you pre-ordered. But again, thank you so much for your time today, and hope everybody has a good rest of their day.